Starvaders had many things going against it, and one of them was me. I straight up ignored the first email the developer sent me, not out of malice, but for the same reason you likely scroll past stuff on Steam. You don't need me to tell you that the terms deck builder and roguelite have lost a lot of their momentum in recent years. That's not to say there's no promising looking games coming out. There are. A lot actually, and that's kind of the problem. You want to know how bad it is? I'm ancient enough that inside a Blockbuster I saw one of the first hand-drawn games not made out of pixels. That game was called Alien Hominid, a simple arcade-ish title where you crash land on Earth and blast everything to your right. What stuck with me the most after playing it was, surprisingly, not the inept CIA agents, not the great boss battles, and not that car level that's as fun as chemotherapy. It was the colors. That cold, creamy puff that erupts from your frost weapon, the shimmering red laser that jets through everything, the frantic pulsing on the pink blaster. It was and is fantastic. A game that caught my attention the instant I saw it and never let go. Even if its gameplay was awful, it's not. Its beauty was all it took. Yet if you wiped my memory and showed me footage of that game in 2025, I'd barely glance at it. All of this is to say the indie scene is so unbelievably stuffed and competitive that amazing looking titles can easily fly under the radar, only to be discovered as hidden gems years later. It is no longer enough to just see something illustrated on screen moving. It is no longer enough for a game to be pretty good. It's not even enough for a game to be so arresting in its visual presentation, your jaw slouches at how something like this can even exist. No one has time for games that are a 6 out of 10, never mind one that's just straight up bad. In terms of popularity, Starvaders is not a viral sensation like Bellatra was before it, but amongst larger circles, it was the talk of the town. After I saw the great response to the game, I thought, hey, these guys reached out to me. Alright, let's try the demo. And the rest is history. Starvaders is what happens when you mix Space Invaders with Slay the Spire. Enemies creep towards the bottom of your grid over multiple turns. Provided they're in the last 3 rows, the doom meter will fill. If that gets full, you're done. Luckily, the process in which you defend these 3 rows is actually fun, most of the time. At the start of your turn, you'll be dealt a hand of cards. Even the fundamentals like moving are done through them. You can play as many as your heat meter allows. If you play over the allotted heat, you'll fittingly burn that card, rendering it largely useless for the rest of the battle, but hey, at least you got an extra turn. It isn't long before the synergies and crazy combinations bubble to the surface of your brain, and you go to town on some dim-witted robots. In one run, I stockpiled cards with fire in their names because they were subject to different buffs that let me play them for free. This resulted in my mech basically having a spasm across the bottom of the grid, hitting everything it can. The results were mixed, but fun. The added complexity of navigating a grid invites a surprising level of depth. There are many games in this genre where you can just take a quick glance and see all the possibilities your hand allows. Not so much in Starvaders. Mulling over your cards for a while can reveal surprising ways to get out of danger. Maybe you found a sweet spot where you can hit multiple enemies at once, or you used a card that up to now you thought could only move enemies. Then you realize entity can refer to anything, so you can actually adjust your position, saving your life. Enemy variety is top notch. Some will march forward 1 tile each turn, others will surround themselves in webs. There's even a boss that must be attacked from the front each time to make any progress. It sucks. Let's bring it back to the fundamentals. Some people watching this heard me talk about the burn feature earlier and thought, that sounds like an interesting risk-reward mechanic. Use 1 more card at the expense of being able to use it for the rest of a battle? Neat. Well, it gets neater. That's only how it works for some characters. Starvaders has a handful of characters at the moment, and they're divided amongst 3 mechs. Each mech has a different resource for dealing cards. Roxy pilots the gunner, which operates on the burn system. Any character operating this mech will use that as a resource. On top of this, different characters have different loadouts. Roxy and Noelle use the same resource, but both start with different cards and passive effects. All of this is in contrast to the mech Stinger, who uses energy instead. Some cards are shared amongst everyone in the game, and others only amongst certain mechs. Unfortunately, every character in the game is tied to a certain mech, so if you wanted to use Roxy with Stinger, for example, you're out of luck. There is still a lot of build craft, though. If this all sounds complicated, it's not. It can definitely be overwhelming at first, especially since Starvaders does that Hades 2 thing where there's just a bunch of bolted words you're expected to know the definition of. Damn it, Hearthstone, why did you popularize the pop-up definition thing? God, that game's DNA is in everything. It's like Genghis Khan. The steady stream of unlocks is paced well, both in permanent progression and a per-run basis, though I wasn't always enthused. For me, at least, a fair amount of these cards tended to push towards builds I didn't find interesting. I think that's more of a personal preference thing. Every roguelike does this to a degree, theory, sometimes it's even dynamic, you know what I mean, like if you take one ranged attack buff in God of War Valhalla, the game will drown you in ranged buffs from then on. I hate it. Not sure if this game does that, but whatever. Another cool mechanic besides Roxy are the chrono coins. These serve the same function as a reroll in most roguelites, though what they reroll is context dependent. You can use them in combat, for example, to reshuffle your hand, or in the shop to get a different assortment of items. You can hold 3 chrono coins at once and they refill multiple times over runs, so you're encouraged to use them. I think these definitely ease some of the annoying moments that emerge naturally in games like this, like getting 5 movement cards with no way to defend yourself. To some, this might feel like an odd fix to a fundamental flaw of the game's design. Why not tailor the roster of cards such that bad hands aren't frequent? I mean, I'm sure they tried, and you can actually remove cards in your deck to increase the chances of drawing the ones you want. Bigger isn't always better, after all. Though bad hands are inevitable no matter how you slice your deck, and it's hardly the players or the devs' fault. On some level, this is always going to happen in these types of games. Bad RNG produces frustrating moments in a wealth of titles, but it definitely hits this genre more. How many times did you discard a Balatro only to get nothing in return? I did encounter an annoying bug. The game would randomly lose focus when I was recording, so when I hovered my cursor over cards to get more info, nothing happened even though I never clicked into another tab. Not a huge deal by any means, but I figured I'd bring it up so it can be brought to the devs' attention. The side effect of playing roguelites for more than a decade is you start to know what constitutes a good one. A great roguelite often has lots of moving parts that are comprehensive and synergize well with all its others. I can confidently say Starvaders, while not on the Mount Rushmore of deck builders, certainly does just that, and at the very least deserves an overwhelmingly positive Steam score.